Morning all. Thanks for attending this second webinar on Breedon Aquatight Advanced. So I'll just, for those that don't know me, I'm Ian White. I'm the National Key Account Manager for yourselves, acting obviously working for Sika. So just moving on, just before we get into the detail of the presentation, I just wanted to go through, the partnership that we have with yourselves, just to highlight that we're not just a supplier of admixtures for your products. We're working in partnership with yourselves. We've come to the end of a 3-year contract that we're looking to extend for a further 3 years. And what that means is we are working with you in terms of developing and enhancing your strategic direction as a ready-mix supplier in the UK. And as a result of that, we don't just supply admixtures. We do things like this, and there's a lot of other support that I'll touch on just before I hand over to Tony to do the presentation on the advanced Aquatight. So just moving on from that, just a bit about Sika, particularly in the UK and Ireland. We operate from 5 locations, manufacturing sites and offices across UK and Ireland. We have more than 1,000 employees working for the organisation and a turnover of 360 billion. As you're probably aware, we're part of a global organisation operating in 103 countries worldwide with around about 27,000 employees and a turnover of 9.6 billion. So, and you can see some of the brands that we actually operate as well. We're under the Sika banner within the UK. So obviously we've got a good global backing that really helps support your business going forward as well. In the UK, we operate in 8 target markets, as we call them. So we have building finishing, which is like the sort of walling and rendering on new build and refurb buildings. We've got obviously the concrete division, which is the division that we operate in and work alongside the waterproofing division as well. We have a roofing division, which has recently developed into developing green roofs, so very environmentally friendly. Flooring and coating, you may well have seen some of the coatings that are put in new car parks now or in industrial buildings, the different colours. We get involved in that. Sealing and bonding, another division that we operate in. And refurbishment, one of the latest technologies there is the carbon fibre strengthening products that we're putting out into the marketplace. And then industry, which is a bit more of a bespoke one, where you may come across it in terms of the products that are used in terms of sealing, in sealants in car manufacturing, particularly glass in your cars. Okay, so that's the businesses that we operate in the UK, and obviously we're focusing on the concrete and waterproofing one today. So this is the team that are dedicated to the Breedon account. For those that aren't familiar with us, obviously there's myself, National Key Account Manager, and I've got Anthony Brothwell works alongside me to cover the UK from a commercial and operations point of view. And then you're supported by 2 technologists. So Gordon Hutton's our senior technologist based up in Scotland, in Wishaw. And Graham Hughes is a Breedon dedicated technologist working out of Boris Quarry. So, we are dedicated to the Breedon business. Obviously, you can see, due to the footprint, we've got great coverage across the UK. And of course, we are supported by other areas of the business, which we'll come on to and explain in the next slide. So in terms of some of the partnership key initiatives, these were discussed and agreed at a meeting that was held in Cranfield University last year by a number of members of Sika and of Breedon. And we were looking to, compile and design our strategic direction with these initiatives to help grow both your business and obviously our business as well, with a view to, helping you be the market leader in ready-mix concrete in the UK. So as part of this process, we've appointed what we call champions, people who will help drive these initiatives forward. Aoife, who introduced the presentation, is one of those, alongside with an apprentice of ours, Sam Williams. Within your business, it's Josh Burke and Emily Ferguson, who you may well have come across, who are graduate intakes within your organisation. So, they're there to help support the initiatives that we've agreed on. So some of those initiatives are, we've developed a shared workspace. So this is like a Teams platform that is just been developed now. So we're looking to build on that, and you may well be invited to join certain areas of that as we progress and grow that platform to share information. We talked about and looked at developing, upskilling your teams. So through basic training and webinars like this, and basically the overall development of the knowledge centre. In terms of mix optimization, this was where we've agreed that we need to manage costs within all of our businesses, and particularly for yourselves, looking at the management of cement and carbon reduction, and obviously waste. And the waste things led on to looking at how we collectively manage our packaging. So the products that we supply to you, can we supply them in a different manner? So we've got tankers being trialled down in the southwest of England to avoid the use of IBCs. We've got looking at recycling IBCs, and any other packaging like the tubs that we use to supply products as well. Can we make them more recyclable going forward? One of the key things is product development and innovation, and I'll come on to that onto the next slide in terms of some of the things that we've done recently with that, and obviously we're looking at taking those initiatives forward significantly. One of the longer term objectives was to look at talent. So can we actually jointly bring talent into the business and work across both businesses, so that we all benefit from developing individuals who understand not just the ready mix business, but also the admixture business as well, and vice versa. And in terms of joint R&D, we have our own R&D department in the UK, which is supported from a European R&D department. Breedon are making use of that now in terms of looking at geopolymers and graphene for the future. And we've got a specific initiative looking at how we can help promote and develop the Welsh slate that you've got, which is a large amount of product that you're looking to put into concrete and potentially into cement manufacturing. Carbon training is something that is at the forefront of a lot of organisations within our industry, and that's something that we've been working on for some time, and we're hoping to share some of our experiences and training with yourselves once we really get into the meat of that. And the Recover programme is something, it's a unit that we've developed in Europe that can actually look at recycling product and getting it back into concrete. It's always been a challenge over the years in terms of how you separate products for demolition material, demolition waste, and we're looking at that. But it's really early stages, that, because your operation needs to be able to provide a good quality feed source, in effect, of demolition products for that to actually become viable. So like I say, these are some of the key initiatives that we've agreed that we'll look at. And obviously, we've got some short and medium term opportunities there, but we are really looking into the long term, which just, does underpin the partnership that we've got. So some of the recent things that we've done, obviously from a technical support point of view, we have conducted 621 lab trials last year on, within your organisation, looking at, product changes, mix validation, cement reduction. So lots of things that have taken place, and that's what we're there for. Anything that from a technical point of view you need us to look at and support on, we can do that. And as a result of that, we've developed certain products that have helped with, the 600 VCC helps with contaminated material. We've helped extend the use of the SHAP material into particularly the northwest region. And we've developed products like Sika Rapid 4. So this is more geared towards higher replacements in your concrete, but being able to attain the early day strengths that you'd get with SEM 1. So again, this is very much down the sustainability and carbon route. In terms of product development, one of the key things that we're currently working on is a product called Viscocrete 5250, which has been developed exclusively for yourselves. We believe that this will, without going into the detail of it, could potentially save you over £1 million over a 12-month period by utilising one ag mixture to achieve increased workability, but also without increasing cement contents. So that's something that we're really looking forward to developing right throughout your organisation. And then, of course, the main mix optimization piece that has been ongoing in terms of reducing cement contents for rapid crete and for your breeding flows. And then work on the Welsh slate that we've already done, which we are now looking to extend that into a bigger research and development programme. So there's lots going on there that hopefully you'll see the benefit from as we progress into the next 3 years of the contract. So just again, as part of the support, this is one example of something that we've put together, requested by yourselves, by Nick Farrell, your regional technical manager in the south, in terms of what products have we got that can help you support your customers. And we've designed this little one-page guide, in effect, to show you, to identify challenges that your customers might face and the products that we can supply that will help support your ready mix product to come up with solutions for them. So that's just an example, and this will be made available as well when we send you the email regarding the actual webinar and the questionnaire. So you should all get a copy of that via that message. So just to move on to the webinar now. Obviously, I'll just recap on the basic webinar we did. This was more looking at, the types of waterproof protection, where it can be used, spotting the opportunity, and then dealing with the opportunity and the support that we can provide alongside that to help you actually win the work. So that was a very basic level. And this one now, I'll hand over to Tony now, and he can take you through the more technical aspects of the advanced part of selling Breedon Aquatight.
Thanks, Ian. And take control now. Lovely. Yeah. So as Ian said, this is really just to build on the basics webinar that a lot of you will have attended before, give you a bit more of a background and understanding of the waterproofing process and design process, so that if you're asked by your customers, then you're able to sort of speak with a bit more authority. So we'll try and keep it fairly simple, but we're going to go through the types and grades again, and then a bit more detail on the different types of waterproofing systems, the specification and the support that we offer. And as Aoife said, if you do have any questions as we go along, just pop them in the chat and we'll address them at the end. So we'll start with the document that sort of underpins it. So the BS 8102 is a document which is used by specifiers and designers in the industry, and it's a code of practice. It gives them the rules and the guidelines for what to do and how to design buildings to protect against water ingress. It gives various recommendations, including speaking to waterproofing expert early on as part of the design process. So Sika would fulfill this role. We have specification managers that will go in and actually speak to engineers and architects and people who are coming up with the waterproofing schedule to actually give them some design early on, some design advice. It was revised in March 2022, so we are running on a document that is very up to date and gives some good guidance to the key people in the industry. So 8102 splits the levels of performance requirements for buildings into 4 different levels. There's a grade 1A and 1B, which are basically where It could be something like an underground car park where a little bit of dampness coming through or a bit of seepage is probably okay. A car park, for example, cars are coming in and bringing water in on their wheels anyway, so there's going to be a slightly wet environment in that car park. So that sort of level is acceptable. We then move on to grade 2, which is where you might see a small amount of dampness. It could be a storage room for some damp tolerant materials, or a pool plant room where a little bit of dampness is acceptable. And then finally, grade 3 is a fully dry environment. So this is the highest level. It's typically used for residential. So if you're actually planning to live or sleep in a room, then it's got to be grade 3. So the way that we actually waterproof a building is split into 3 categories. So it splits it into type A, which is a barrier system. So that could be a membrane, like you can see in this picture here, where you literally wrap an impermeable membrane around your building. Type B is the one that us and you are probably most focused on. This is the integral concrete. This is where we actually use the concrete itself as a waterproofing barrier. And that is a combination of things. It's an admixture which goes into the concrete. It's also joint protection and various design details. Type C is one that you'll come across least. It's cavity drain, which is basically a water management system. So it accepts that water will get into the building, and then it drains it away and channels it away and pumps it out of the building so that it doesn't affect the internal space. Now, that's most commonly used in refurbishment projects where you've got an existing or older building, and this comes in at the end. So it's less likely that you'd come across this type. So we are going to focus on types A and B really in this. So type B, again, probably the most important for everyone on this call, is the integral concrete protection. So we have watertight admixtures, which are split into 2 technology categories. We have the hydrophobic pore blockers, which are the watertight concrete powder, which is by far the most common that people will use, and also a liquid Sika 1+. Now this technology it coats the capillaries and the pores and any cracks in the concrete with a hydrophobic substance. So it makes it harder for water to penetrate through and makes the concrete denser and less permeable. The other type of technology we have is a crystallization product. So a crystalline waterproofer would be something like our 200p or 250p. They're both powdered products, bag powdered products, and what they do is they put extra substances into the concrete which react with water and some of the hydration products from the cement to create new crystals. So if a crack forms, or if there is an area of lower density, then once water tries to push through the concrete, new crystals will form up and block its path. This is just an explanatory video, and it goes through a couple of the different types, and it's actually quite useful to visualize the systems involved.
Introducing the dual waterproofing system of Sika watertight concrete and Sikaproof for below ground structures. The following will explain the advantages and demonstrate how this approach may benefit you. The dual system includes both Sikaproof fully bonded membrane and Sika watertight concrete. The system supplies 2 layers of waterproofing to provide the utmost protection. The Sikaproof membrane element of the dual system is the first line of defense against water ingress and harmful chemicals. It has the benefit of being highly flexible with a crack bridging ability, offering a robust, fully bonded and permanent waterproofing solution. Here's an example basement construction with Sikaproof membrane already installed. Let's take a closer look. Sikaproof consists of an embossed, highly flexible membrane with a unique grid pattern of sealant and a specially designed non-woven fleece that creates a durable mechanical bond when it comes into contact with the fresh concrete. The grid seal technology is unique to Sikaproof and creates many watertight compartments in the event of damage to the membrane. This makes it impossible for water to travel along the inside of the membrane. In the basement construction shown, Sika watertight concrete has been set as the second and final line of defense in the dual system. Let's take a closer look at the concrete. If this was standard concrete, you would be able to see the pores created by the excess water that is not necessary for hardening, but is required for workability. These pores are the potential pathways for water. So essentially, standard concrete behaves like a dense sponge. With Sika watertight concrete, the addition of waterproofing admixtures plus the optimized water-cement ratio creates a dense microstructure that permanently seals the concrete. Sika has 2 waterproofing admixtures in its WT series. In the example shown, you can see the effects of how both products work. While Sika WT100 acts as a pore blocker, WT200 forms a crystal matrix across the pore. In the event the membrane is damaged due to movement or other possibilities, water is still not able to penetrate the structure. The dual system also incorporates complementary jointing systems, which complete your watertight structure. The Sika swell jointing systems are a range of hydrophilic profiles and sealants applied to the construction joints and surface penetrations, which swell in contact with water, creating a watertight seal. The Sika water bar is an internal or external applied water stop which can provide protection for construction or movement joints. This is supplied in metal or PVC, depending on your application. In this example, you can see the water bar also allows movement but still provides protection. Sika Fuco injection systems are used to seal construction joints in watertight structures against water and saltwater ingress. It is cast into the construction joints with the concrete. To seal the joint, Sika Fuco can be injected with suitable Sika injection materials, including acrylic and polyurethane resins, or microfine cement suspensions. To reseal the joint again by re-injection, Sika acrylic resin or microfine cement must be used for the initial injection. The Sika Door Combiflex SG system is a high-performance joint sealing system for construction, expansion and connection joints, as well as for cracks. When fixed to the joint, it allows irregular and high movements in more than one direction, whilst maintaining a high-quality seal. We hope you found this video helpful. Thank you for your interest in the Sika watertight, concrete and Sika-proof dual protection system.
So we'll skip through that. I mean, hopefully that's given a bit more of a sort of visualization of how these products are used. You can see there's a vast range of different products to address different problems, and some of them are a lot more specialist than others. I'm going to discuss a particular scenario, which is the dual system approach, and I'd say this is probably 3/4, maybe 80% of new build specifications that we produce are in this format, and which is basically using the concrete, so the type B, with a membrane type A. So just as in that video, we were using the membrane as the primary source, so the water's got to get through the membrane first and then the concrete. So there's different types of membrane. There's pre-applied, which we would typically use underneath the slab. So you lay the membrane down first and pour the concrete on the top. And then there's post-applied, which you would cast the concrete first and then stick the membrane to it afterwards. The advantage of the dual system is really that you've got redundancy. You've got 2 layers of protection, which reduces the risk. And increasingly, the market is affected by the building insurers. So we've got companies like NHBC or LABC who provide building insurance to the large developers. And NHBC are the biggest. They would do maybe 75% of new build sites. And they actually put separate requirements that if they're doing a below ground structure, that they need at least 2 lines of protection. When you combine our systems together, the client or the end user gets an extended guarantee as well. So 15 years for a single system and 20 years for a dual system like this. And there are some other more technical requirements, things like gas. So radon is a naturally occurring gas which can cause lung cancer. It occurs across very large areas of the UK and across the world. And if you're digging down into the ground, you can actually have the situation where radon actually gathers in the basement area that you're building. So you've got to put things in place to deal with that. Part of that could be a membrane to actually prevent it getting in or slow the rate that it goes in, but also ventilation systems and various other stuff. Obviously, it's unlikely that you get questions about that, but if you do, then we are here to support, and we have specialists that can deal with those sort of questions. Water bars are an integral part of any watertight concrete construction. So concrete structures are most vulnerable at the joints. We can't cast it all in one go because the concrete would shrink and crack. Therefore, typically we have to do a slab. In this scenario here, we've got a slight upstand or a kicker, which is just a sort of a very short wall effectively, and then we pour the wall on top. So the point where those two pieces meet is the joint, and that is the part that's most at risk of water ingress. Therefore, we need something at those joints to protect it, and that is a water bar or a water stop. And it's a physical barrier which prevents water from coming in if water pressure comes to bear on the structure. There are several types available. The most commonly used by far is the Sika Soleil. So this is a hydrophilic strip. And in the video, if you remember, there was that little red triangle which actually expands into the gap that's surrounding it. So as water comes in contact with it, it has a very powerful expansive force. The metal sheet is a physical metal barrier that straddles the joint, so it will be cast into the slab, and then it would also go up into the wall. And then they're a bit more specialist, but the PVC range are done on a job-specific basis. So if there's very high movement or extremely high pressures or some other reason, then you can also specify PVC water bars. And the actual requirement for the water bar depends on the job specifics. So if it's a 10-story huge basement with massive potential water pressures, then you might need a different design to someone who's just putting a cellar on their house. We give guidance on pour ratios. So this will affect you because it affects the rate at which your customers want to order concrete from you. So if you're producing a large basement with a large concrete area, as I said, we can't really pour it all in one go because it's likely to shrink and crack. And obviously cracks are potential areas for water to get into the basement. So we give guidance based on a maximum slab area. So we say limit the maximum size of your slab. So that's a 20 by 20 meter slab. And we also say for walls that we give either a ratio of 1 to 5. So length to height, you can see this lower arrow to the top arrow. Could be 1 to 3 in most situations, or 1 to 5 if it's a very short wall. And these guidelines are there to reduce the risk of cracking. But we would work with the contractor and possibly the ready mixer to establish a practical and buildable solution for this. So in any structure, the joints are always the weakest part. It's actually very unlikely for water to pass through a concrete wall or a floor without a significant crack. So the joints are really where we start to look if we start to get issues. Now that could be a case of poor compaction. So if the concrete is too dry, for example, then you could end up with poor compaction at the bottom of the joint, which could cause the structure to leak. So this is where the quality control element is very important. Or it could just be that the contractor hasn't vibrated or compacted the concrete enough to achieve a proper seal at the bottom. So that is really where most problems happen. Quite a lot of words here, don't worry too much about it, but there's this is an extract from BS 8102, and it's a flowchart for designers. So it really runs through their requirements in terms of how they plan for designing their project, what factors they need to consider, how they choose the protection, and then also who they need to speak to. And this is an example of how they would assess the risk. So a water table is a naturally occurring phenomenon. Obviously, depending on how low the ground level is in the area and localities of rivers, etc. So the designer would assess the risk of that water table rising and falling, and therefore the potential for water getting into the building they're designing. As part of our design support service, we put together a full specification for designers or contractors. And what this does is basically a document that summarizes the products which are to be used, where they're to be used, and also gives extra information like clauses that can be put into the architect's specifications or drawings, key technical information, and stuff like that. If the customer or the end user wants a guarantee from Sika, which is something that we routinely offer, as I said, 15 or 20 years typically, then we've got to have this specification as part of it. So if you're getting an inquiry through and your customer is saying, I want a guarantee with this product, then you can say, absolutely fine. We'll put you in contact with Sika. We'll do a specification. We'll make sure that they've got site support and that we keep a proper record of the project so that we're happy that things will be done properly. We would then get involved in the engineers, and also if you're getting inquiries for watertight concrete, maybe with no specification or with an alternative product, then we can work with you to make sure that that is switched to Sika and that we keep all the business together in our partnership. We can also offer bespoke details. So if anybody's saying, oh, you know, what are the joint details on this job, or how do I find that out, then we put them in contact with us and we can offer bespoke details or standard details as required. And we want to have a joint approach with you. So we want to work closely with you to share information with you in terms of the projects that we're aware of, and also work with you because you're closer to some of the customers than we are. So we would obviously have a strong involvement at the design stage. So we would hope to bring you more of a pipeline of projects that are coming up in your area. And then you can help us by letting us know when things are starting and who the key people are and the questions that you're being asked. It's never too early to get us involved. We're always pleased to hear about a project that you're working on. And obviously we're keen to speak to you as often as we can. In terms of site support, this is a key pillar of our offering, really, is the, I think, unparalleled site support that we offer. We have a team of dedicated waterproofing site technicians that actually go out to site. They give what we call toolbox talks, information to contractors and the people who are actually using the products in terms of how they do joint details, how they install water bars, how we actually sequence the pores, so that pore ratio calculation we're talking about. And we would also do a final inspection at the end once the building is watertight. Once we've done all that, and obviously assuming it's all been done correctly, then we can issue a guarantee at the end. So appreciate it's quite a lot to take in, but just to sort of recap some of the main points. We've got BS 8102, which is the document that underpins everything, and that gives guidance to the designers of the building. That then has an impact on what type of waterproofing they then choose. So your types A, B, and C, your membrane, integral concrete, or cavity drain. We then provide full specification and site support to the designer and the contractor, and they would need to decide on all that depending on the level of performance that they require for their building. So it's a grade 1, 1A, 1B, grade 2, or grade 3. Now, I'd say that most things are at least grade 2 or 3 these days. It's very unlikely that people accept, dampness in their building. That is it from me. So I will hand back over to Ian. If you do have any other questions, then we can address them.
Okay, thanks very much, Tony. Thanks for that detailed presentation on waterproofing systems. So yeah, now I just wanted to, in terms of Tony mentioned the support that we provide for that process, but just some other support that we've developed and we've got for you as individuals in terms of waterproofing systems and the like. So we have put together, obviously, a Breedon Aquatight brochure, which should be available on your website. So that's a brochure that you can use, obviously, to help and promote your branded Aquatight product. As I mentioned earlier, we have put together this solutions guide as well, which we'll make available to you. Aoife mentioned earlier that obviously, if you're not registered or haven't used the Breedon Knowledge Centre for some time, please, send myself or Anthony an email and we'll get you registered. But also visit the page, the Knowledge Centre, and we really do want feedback on what you'd like to see on there in terms of support and training. We're trying to develop this a lot more than we have done over recent years, and it is something for you to use. So please engage with it and let us know what we can do to improve it. And then, of course, there is the document that we produced for the basic training, which can be used to anybody new coming into the business. They can use that to help them gain knowledge and understanding and actually help them sell, one of your performance products in a strong manner. So what I'll do now is just move on to the, obviously, questions and answers. We have had a number put into the chat, so I'll hand over to Anthony and Aoife just to go through this.
Hi, thank you. Okay, so we have a number in there. So Ellen is asking, in what situation would you use WT250 as opposed to WT200?
It's a good question. WT250 is a relatively new product. It is quite similar in the way that it acts compared to 200p, but it has the advantage that it is approved for drinking water contact. So that's the key area that we see growth in this. It may one day replace the 200p completely, but at the moment we're still at sort of the early trial stages. So we have spoken to various specifiers like Mott MacDonald, Bentley, and some water companies like Anglian Water. So they are considering using that as part of their repairs and new reservoir capacity.
Okay, thank you. Question or two from Craig. So we go with the first one. How do you stop the Sika swelling up when pouring the concrete?
So the actual swelling reaction of the hydrophilic swelling water bar is quite slow. It'll stand in standing water for 12 to 24 hours without really doing much. Once it does start to go, it goes quite quickly. It goes sort of pale pink and sort of puffy, and obviously at that point it's too late. You can't really use it in the project. So we do have issues where it's rained on or and it becomes unusable. But in terms of actually, if it's okay when you're pouring the concrete, the reaction is not quick enough to cause a problem.
Okay, thanks, Anthony. Another one from Craig. The film mentioned WT100. Is this new?
Yeah, we get asked this a lot. WT100 is the sort of corporate name for our range. So although we brand it in the UK as watertight concrete powder, there is a general term for these hydrophobic watertight admixtures. So WT100 is the general term for the range, but in the UK, all you need to remember is watertight concrete powder or Sika 1+.
Yeah, I think we discussed that on the last session, and probably 85 to 90% of what we do is the watertight concrete powder. So there's an opportunity if anybody else wants to pop any questions in the chat. If you want to start typing now. If not seeing anything coming in. So if there aren't any more questions, then I'll just pass back to Aoife, if that's all right. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Anthony, and thank you, Ian and Tony, for your presentation, and to everyone for attending today. As previously highlighted, I will be sending out a follow-up email which will have a survey to give us your feedback so that we can improve when we do future webinars, and it will also have the links to the sign up for the Knowledge Centre and for the login to the Knowledge Centre if you already are signed up. I will also be including the support materials that we showed, such as the Breedon Aquatight brochure and the table of the admixtures for the various different applications within concrete that you might be looking for. So these will all be in the follow-up email if you just watch out for that. Finally, we will be holding future webinars covering other topics such as Breedon Titan and Breedon Flow. So please just watch out for any information that might come from Breedon, which will be via April and your marketing team, or from myself, which will obviously be coming from Sika, so that you can sign up for these webinars as well to continue to improve your knowledge. And once again, thank you for your time today, and I hope to see you at the next webinar. Thank you.